Thanks for watching Give Me 5 today. We're going to take a look at Mark 14, verses 3 through 9 today. Mark 14, verse 3 says, "And being in Bethany, at the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came, having an alabaster flask of very costly oil of spikenard. Then she broke the flask and poured it on his head. But there were some who were indignant among themselves and said, 'Why was this fragrant oil wasted? For it might have been sold for more than 300 denarii and given to the poor.' And they criticized her sharply. But Jesus said, 'Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a good work for me.'" John 12 actually identifies this woman who poured the oil on Jesus as Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. Now, it was customary to welcome your guest into your home by anointing them with a few drops of perfume and to wash their feet to remove all the residue, all the crud and dirt that they had gathered from the roads. And remember, they shared the roads with animals. Now, for some strange reason, Simon didn't offer this service to Jesus and his guests, and this is where Mary stepped up, and what she did could be defined as extravagant. Extravagant is a Latin origin word that means to wander outside the normal, and this act of Mary displayed her love for Jesus in a way that was not normal. It was way outside ordinary. Listen to what Jesus says in Mark 14, verse 9. "I assure you, wherever the gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told in memory of her." So true love only knows the extravagant. True love doesn't try to get by with the bare minimum. When Kim and I were dating, I wanted to show her how much I loved her. I wanted to be extravagant, but the problem is it's hard to be extravagant when you're making $3.75 an hour. Extravagant was supersizing a combo meal at McDonald's. But I wanted to take her to someplace special, but couldn't afford it. So I actually sold my electric guitar and amplifier so I could take her to a show. At that time, we're living in Las Vegas, so I would take her to one of the shows on the Strip. I may have made a mistake by being so extravagant that she might come to expect the extravagant all the time. But she didn't. Because she loved me, she didn't want me to take her to extravagant places. She just wanted me to show her extravagant love. Now, in the same way, I think modern Christianity has turned into a cheap date. A cheap date is someone who's more concerned with their wallet than they are with the person they're with. We come and we offer the bare minimum to Jesus, and we expect him to lavish us with his presence and his blessings. We offer him the bare minimum, but we expect from him the extravagant. Now, Jesus is no cheap date. He's looking for true worshipers. He says this in John 4:23. He says, "But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him." Now, this word for true, in both aspects, true worshipers and spirit and truth, is this word alethenos. And that alethenos is something that's not a secret, it's not concealed, it's not covered, it's for everyone to see. I had one of my old professors that would always say there's no such thing as a secret disciple. Either the secret will destroy the disciple, or the disciple will destroy the secret. So Mary had this alabaster flask, this vial or box of rare and costly oil of spikenard. This nard was made from a root that came from far off India, so it's extremely valuable. In fact, the text says that it was worth 1 year's wage. Could you imagine your annual salary all bottled up in one bottle? Now, Mary could have taken just a drop or two and placed it on the head of Jesus, and she would have been meeting the requirement. She would have done the bare minimum, but that wouldn't have been extravagant. What she did was she broke it open so it couldn't be used again, and she poured all of it out on Jesus. How many of us would take the equivalent of 1 year's wage, break it open, and give it all to Jesus? Now, we can equate the perfume as a picture of a worship. If all your worship was bottled up, how would you use it? How would you spend your bottle of worship? Some of us would give a little dab here, a little dab there. We'd keep the rest bottled up and stored for those important things in life. Our favorite teams, our favorite bands or singers, maybe even ourselves or someone special in our life. So in this text, Mary represents the worshiper, and you and I are the worshipers today, but the question is, what kind of worshipers are we? Do we take our alabaster flask and do we simply open it up and give a drop or two in worship to Jesus? Or do we take it and break it open and pour all of it out on Him? Are we stingy or are we extravagant? There's a worship song from the early 2000s, and we still sing it in church today. The chorus says, "I will give you all my worship. I will give you all my praise. You alone I long to worship. You alone are worthy of my praise."